My good people, my good people. Hello, world. I'd like to welcome you guys back to the show that's hot with your boy Rob Scott. This is Rob's 2 cents, baby. What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. Long time no see, my good people. But your boy is here. Your boy is back. Man, I went through an ordeal. Your boy caught COVID, man. I ain't been having the good luck with all these diseases out here. Had pneumonia, had caught COVID. And I'm just going through the wire. But like the soldier I am, I'm still here. And I'm still here with Rob's 2 cents, baby. And I couldn't wait to get back to talk to you guys. As you guys know, it's been a lot of exciting things going on with the NBA and their playoffs. And oh my God, I mean, we're seeing superstars emerge right before our very eyes. And also seeing old superstars decline. I mean, and decline bad. We got a lot to talk about. Also, we're going to touch briefly on a little beef that Coach Nick Saban from the Alabama Crimson Tide, Roll Tide, baby. He had some remarks to say. I guess because players are getting paid now, he feels that they should still choose Bama, and he feels like they're being coerced to go elsewhere or to other colleges. So we're going to talk about this beef that's been going on amongst national college football coaches. And then also we're going to touch briefly on Jermell Charlo and his quest to become the undisputed Light Middleweight Champion of the world at 154 pounds, holding all of the premier titles under that weight class. We're definitely going to talk about that. But before we can begin anything, we have to talk about the tragic incidents that's been happening as of late. I don't know what's in the water. I don't know what people are going through mentally. But mass shootings and hurting innocent people is definitely not the way. And we've seen two recent examples of this in Buffalo, New York, and then also now in Texas. And both of them are just huge atrocities. A little lost for words. I've actually, unfortunately, seen the video of what's happened in Texas. What happened in Buffalo. And speaking as an African American in this country, to see our elders targeted like that, like it was a video game, like, no real value to human life, because contrary to your popular belief, us black people are humans as well. And just no remorse, no regret. I mean, even going as far to apologize to a Caucasian male, which I'm glad the Caucasian male wasn't hurt, but apologizing because white people was not his targets. And then to hear on the news and read about what happened to those young souls in Texas, elementary school. These kids, I think they said the oldest kids were 10 years old and everybody else was younger than 10 except for the teachers. I don't know if it was one teacher or two that also got caught in the crosshairs of this senseless and heartless killer, because we're going to call it exactly what it is. Regardless of mental health or mental distress, I think we have to stop making light of those situations where we're so quick to run to the mental health side of things. And not to say mental health is not real. Mental health is real. But there's something else brewing that makes you pick up a gun and go into a place of children where they're learning and playing and wreak havoc. It's going to be parents, mothers, and fathers that won't get to see their kids again. Kids that now have left before their time, before they're able to graduate 8th grade and get ready for high school or go on prom or have that first time they get to drive a car, you know? My hearts and prayers and condolences are with all of the families and victims of the victims that were taken away from us in these two senseless killings and in all of the mass shootings that we've had this year in year 2022. It's just been a crazy epidemic of something in the water, and it needs to stop. You know, we need something. I'm no politician. I can't speak on what these political figures need to do, or you know, I know for sure we need. I think before you're able to hold a gun, you need to have an interview like you're going for a job. I think you get interviewed more for a job than you get interviewed to own something as powerful as a firearm. So again, I know people are tired of saying, you know, their thoughts and prayers, but you know, that's what I can offer right now. It's really been on my heart, and we need to stop this as humans in general. We need to stop. It's hard enough trying to navigate through life and going through changes of growth and trying to stay elevated, you know, in status and financially and mentally and physically. You have a hard enough time trying to get yourself up. Well, now you have to navigate through a world of people wanting to hurt people, and we just all need to live in peace. If we can take away strife and stress of people hurting people, I think us as a people will be better off. I don't want to harp on that for too long, but they definitely deserved a moment of our time. And we won't say the killers' names, and we won't, you know, that they're not important. You know, who is important are the victims that lost their lives. You know, my wife is a teacher, and I fear for her a lot, you know, as she tells me stories about how crazy some of these kids are. But, you know, we you know, it starts at home. You know, your parents have to watch and monitor your kids. You have to monitor what they're watching, what they're playing. You talk to your kids. You know, you know, a simple conversation can lead to you stopping something bad from happening because maybe there's a lack of love or attention there that you didn't know wasn't there. You know, something. But I just think us as a people, you know, we have to get back to the village raising the families, because it takes more than one person. It takes sometimes more than mom and dad to raise a household. So, again, to all the families of all the victims that were slain and massacred in these crazy mass shootings and mass murders, our thoughts and prayers are with you, with everyone associated with Rob's 2 cents. We'll keep praying for you, and we'll keep remembering your legacies. Keep your spirits alive through our thoughts. We love all of you all, and we hope that the families are able to hopefully one day find closure. We had to acknowledge that. Now we can get into our sports, which is still hard. You know, shout out to Steve Kerr, who really broke it down. And you know, I can't agree or disagree with what politicians are doing. I'm not a political figure, but I can agree with this has to stop. And it's hard to focus on the task at hand when you see all these crazy things happening out here. So, but we have a job to do. I know you guys came in for the hottest sports conversation in the nation, so sit back, relax, and tune in as we talk about, last time we were talking about the second round of the playoffs. As we know, New Orleans defeated the Pelicans. The 76ers had defeated the Raptors. The Boston Celtics had swept the Brooklyn Nets. The Milwaukee Bucks had a gentleman's sweep on the Chicago Bulls. Dallas beat the Mavericks. I'm sorry, I said Dallas beat the Mavericks. Dallas beat the Utah Jazz. Golden State defeated Denver in the first round, finally laying them to rest. And then also, I feel like I'm missing a team in the Western Conference. I said Phoenix had beat New Orleans, and you know we saw some great games. Memphis beat Minnesota. That was a great game. I knew I was missing somebody. So you know now the second round is set. We got Dallas versus Phoenix, Golden State in a highly anticipated matchup versus the Memphis Grizzlies. If we break down Phoenix and Dallas first, actually, you know what? We're going to go out east first. We're going to break down Philly and Miami and Milwaukee versus Boston. Now, Milwaukee versus Boston was definitely a highly anticipated matchup. You get to see the Greek Freak, the defending champions, the Milwaukee Bucks, going against the up-and-coming Celtics, who, by the way, were horrible in the first half of the NBA regular season, and just started to be. They began to catch stride before the All-Star break. Came out of All-Star break. I mean, these guys went on an absolute tear. Managed to go from being out of the playoffs in play-in territory to being second place in the Eastern Conference. So everybody knew that the Celtics was for real, not to mention what they just did to the Brooklyn Nets, beating them 4-0. We're talking about a Kevin Durant-led Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie was able to play in that series. You know, all jokes and excuses aside, there was no way that I thought Boston was going to sweep the Nets. I did have them defeating the Nets, but I didn't think a sweep was coming. But them boys came out there and clamped Kevin Durant and Kyrie up. So now my thing is, can you do the same with the Greek Freak? Can you come out there and dominate with the Greek Freak? And you know, Giannis throughout the series, I mean, if we look at his stats, Giannis was averaging about 33 points throughout this series. 33.9 points. He averaged off 45% shooting from the field, 46 we could say. You know, he's not much of a three-point shooter. Free throw average was definitely down at 67.6%. But as far as the intangibles, averaging about 15 rebounds a game, averaging about 7 assists a game. Drew Holiday out there, his running mate, he averaged about 21 points a game in this series. However, we clearly knew, seeing Chris Middleton leave against the Brooklyn Nets, and finding out that he was not going to be there throughout the entirety of that series with the Boston Celtics, it kind of looked a little grim for Milwaukee. I mean, Chris Middleton is the closer for this team. We're talking about an all-star. We're talking about at least 20 to 25 points now missing from your roster. A guy that does the intangibles. A guy when it's fourth quarter time and the game is close and everybody's sweating and biting nails, that's the guy you pass it to. Smooth like butter, baby. And Chris Middleton was definitely missed during this series. I mean, and the funny thing is the series went to 7 games. We knew if any series was going to go to 7 games, it was going to be this series. Not to mention it was a very, very competitive series. If we want to be all honest, the blowout game didn't come until the last game of this series in Game 7, in which Boston won 109-81, defeating the Milwaukee Bucks and putting them out of the playoffs. It was just too much of Jason Tatum, 23.6 rebounds, 8 assists. I mean, Jason Tatum had a series. I mean, you look at in Game 6, the guy gave you 46 points going head-to-head with Giannis, who gave you 44 points and 20 rebounds. Game 5, Jason Tatum gives you 34 points. He gives you 30 in Game 4. Al Horford was the one that lost his mind in Game 3, in which he kind of tried to turn back the hands of time. No, Al Horford lost his mind in Game 4, actually. And I'm just telling you guys, this was just a great, great series to watch the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics go at it. Again, Boston winning this series in 7 games. It's really nothing you can, a lot of people try to say maybe Giannis did too much. Maybe they had the recipe against Giannis. Giannis needs to evolve his game. And I simply harp to, no, they were simply missing Chris Middleton. We had Brook Lopez, who had missed a better part of the first series against the Brooklyn Nets due to his back complications. They were just missing players. I think Pat Connaughton had got hurt. I mean, you had a couple people that were just hurt in this series that you definitely missed being on your roster, and it just proved to be too much for the Milwaukee Bucks as they lost, and Boston was just starting to catch stride at the right time. Like I said, in particular, if we look at Game 4, and we see the Al Horford Giannis matchup in which I'm sorry, I think it was either Game 4 or Game 6. But I believe it was Game 4. I mean, Giannis talking mess to Al Horford. Al Horford nodding his head, and he comes out and has a hell of a game. I mean, that series gave you everything you were looking for, and Boston was able to advance. Now going to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they will await the winner of Philadelphia and the Miami Heat. And let me tell you something, man. Miami was able to pull it out. This series went to 6 games, and we kind of figured so. If we look at games 1 and 2, Miami was leading that series, and that was due to the fact that Joel Embiid hadn't played in Game 1. Now, if you guys remember, at the end of the series against the Raptors, they had hit Joel in the face, broke his orbital bone. So now he has to do the Batman thing and put on his mask. But, of course, he had to miss Game 1 and 2. And not to mention, he is already slumped with a couple of other injuries, too. I believe he had a fractured thumb. We know he's going through bad back problems. But Joel Embiid, honestly, showing me something, being a trooper. Of course, missed Game 1 and 2. Had to make sure he got cleared by his doctors. Miami took advantage of that situation. Jimmy had a hell of a series. I mean, they took Games 1 and 2. Games 3 and 4, Joel Embiid now comes back and he establishes his dominance. I mean, there's nothing more to talk about. James Harden really didn't show up at all in these games. He had one game in which he showed up, in which he scored 31 points, and he was out there howling at the moon. He had 31, 9, and 7 in Game 4. He was out there howling at the moon. The 76ers are back. And then disappears completely for Game 5 and 6. I mean, Game 6 was horrible. The man shot 11 shots, I believe, throughout the game. He took 9 of those shots in the first half. He shot 2 threes in the second half, and the man didn't shoot anything else for the rest of the game. Post-game conference in Game 6, which was the closeout game in which Philadelphia got sent packing out of the playoffs. He's complained that he didn't get plays called for him, that he wasn't getting the ball enough. James Harden, nobody wants to hear those excuses. You had a job to do. The Philadelphia 76ers traded away their future for you. Granted, Ben Simmons was not going to play for the Philadelphia 76ers because clearly he didn't play for the Brooklyn Nets either. But with the beef he had with Joel Embiid and the beef he had with Doc Rivers, he wasn't going to play for this franchise. And what did the 76ers do? Because of Daryl Morey, who has the general manager who has a great relationship with James Harden due to the fact he was the general manager of the Houston Rockets. He says, James wants out of Brooklyn. He's forcing himself out of Brooklyn. He's out of shape. Doesn't want to play. Said he's hurt. Maybe we can get him. And they mortgaged their future on you because they had a couple good pieces in Steph Curry and Andre Drummond. So you give away Steph Curry, you give away Andre Drummond, and you give away Ben Simmons to get James Harden, who comes to your franchise and literally has a great first 5 games and then disappears. We didn't hit the panic mode button yet, even though historically speaking, James Harden has never been good in the playoffs. But we wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, you got Joel Embiid. Let's see what you can do now, James. Let's see you turn up. Let's see if you're worth that max money that Patrick Beverly gets on First Takes and talk about. I understand that the basketball players have a brotherhood and they're going to always take up for each other. And I'm never one to tell somebody that they shouldn't get paid. But if you're asking me, in my opinion, if we're talking strictly basketball, if you were a general manager, would you pay James Harden? That's all I ask. Put yourself in a position where that's your money on the line. Your bonuses, your incentives of making sure that you put the right pieces together to allow the coach to coach the team into a championship. Would you risk your future? Or would you risk, your future going forward after you just risk it all to get James Harden, giving away a nice shooting Seth Curry, giving away a great big man to fill in for Joel Embiid when he needs to go get a rest on the bench, and Andre Drummond? You gave away Ben Simmons, who, hey, you say what you want about Ben Simmons. He was a former All-Star candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. The boy can hoop. He just got to get his mental straight. But that's why I'm not going to kill him on here. Because he kept that same energy all season. He didn't want to play. But James Harden, you forced yourself out of a potential greatest big three ever assembled, at least offensively. Couldn't help KD out last year against the Bucks because you were hurt. And I understand what Kyrie was doing was frustrating. But you left your boys high and dry, in particular Kevin Durant. And you go to Philadelphia and you get their hopes up. And as you heard Joel Embiid have to admit at the podium at the end of the game, we thought we were getting Houston James Harden. And clearly he's not that anymore. Now, it looks like Philadelphia is going to keep James Harden. Is he going to get the max money? It's still the debate that people are having, because you have to look at it. If Philly don't pay him, then who? And does James Harden want to go to any other team in which he feels he can't win a championship on? But now we have the stage set where we have Miami versus the Boston Celtics. And as I'm watching right now, I believe Boston was up going into halftime. It's an exciting game going on right now. Game 5, actually. I believe the series is tied 2-2. And last time I checked, it looks like Boston was beating Miami. Right now, Jimmy Butler's at the free throw line. Scores coming back up now. Miami's up on Boston 28-22, which is surprising right now, especially considering the fact Miami has been dealt with injuries. I mean, we've seen Jimmy Butler have to not play in the game due to knee inflammation. Tyler Hero now is missing his second game due to an injured groin. We haven't even seen one of the twins. What's his name? Markeith. We haven't even seen those twins, and he's still dealing with the whiplash that he got from Joker. Victor Oladipo's came back. He's been playing pretty well. Kyle Lowry's also been going through some injury issues as well on his team. Duncan Robinson has been in the doghouse, so he's finally starting to get some ticks. So, and Bam Adebayo finally decided to show up for Game 3. So we're going to see right now what Miami can do. Boston has also been hurt. Marcus Smart has been hurt, but he's been a trooper. He had a horrific fall in that Bucks series, but he's been a trooper throughout this series, battling those ankle injuries, lower body injuries. They finally got Robert Williams back, the nice big stud who's been playing center for them. So we're going to see what they can do. Al Horford not quite having a series like he did last series against Milwaukee. And Miami is coming to play hard. Every game so far in this series has been a blowout. So right now, this is a competitive game. It's a fun game. So we're going to keep our eyes on this game, and I'll let you guys know throughout this show what's exactly going on. It's 5 minutes and 33 seconds and counting left in the second quarter. Before we get to halftime, again, this is your number 1 seed Miami versus your number 2 seed in Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. Miami gets a steal on the fast break. They, also scored the layup. Looked like that was Caleb Martin who scored that layup. So right now, Miami is out there. They're playing like they have a sense of urgency, and that's exactly what needed to happen. If we go out west, we have to first look at Golden State versus the Memphis Grizzlies. That was a great series. Unfortunately, Ja Morant went down in Game 4, I want to say. So the Memphis Grizzlies were without their superstar player in Ja Morant. But we did see during the regular season the Memphis Grizzlies go 20-2. Without Ja Morant when he was out due to injury earlier in the regular season. Now, I bring up 20-2 because statistically speaking, they were 20-5 when Ja Morant returned. But they had won 20-2 before they went on that 3-game losing streak, and which brought Ja back into the lineup. And let me tell you guys something. Even without Ja Morant, that Memphis team was very competitive. Took them to games, I believe Game 5, and Warriors were able to pull it out against the Memphis Grizzlies. It was an amazing series. Watching Ja at first going back to back with Steph Curry. I actually took him out in 6 games. I'm sorry. Yeah, because it got down to Game 6 because I got a little nervous because I said I didn't want to see Golden State go back to Memphis. As we know, Memphis owned the home court advantage with them finishing second in the West. And I didn't want to see Golden State, even without Ja Morant. I wanted them to avoid Memphis, so I was glad they took care of business at Golden State and San Fran in 6 games. But because Memphis, they make you nervous. Dylan Brooks came to play. Desmond Bain finally got over those back issues. He was able to gut it out. He started performing well. Jared Jackson Jr., Triple J, had a very good series. Steven Adams came back from his COVID situation, and he kind of started tipping the rebound game in Memphis' favor. Zaire Williams made a couple of big threes throughout this series. Of course, my boy Tyus Jones had a great game, great series. So Memphis showing that they got some pieces. And had they not missed Ja Morant, I would have been a little bit nervous for my Golden State Warriors. However, Golden State showing that championship pedigree, showing that will, that killer skill to get the job done, was able to get past Memphis. Steph was still trying to find his range throughout this series. He finally was able to get a couple things going as he averaged about 26 points and 5 assists throughout this series. Ja, before he went down, was averaging 38.3%. I mean, Ja is on the way. But we had a Game 6 Klay sighting, and he just proved to be too much for the Memphis Grizzlies. It was good to see Klay finally have one of those signature games that we were so used to him having back before he injured his Achilles. I mean, when I tell you Game 6 Klay showed up, Game 6 Klay showed up. 11 of 22 from the field for 30 points, 8 of 14 from the three-point line, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks. I mean, everywhere on the court. Game 6 Klay came to play, and it couldn't have happened at a better time because even though Steph Curry had 29 points, it took him 27 points to get those 29 points, not to mention he was only 6 of 17 from the three-point line. So if you ever had a game in which you needed Klay to show up, it was that game, not to mention the rebounding that the Warriors team did that game. I mean, we look at the Memphis Grizzlies, they only had 44 rebounds that game. Golden State out-rebounded them 70-44. Keep this in mind and to also have perspective. Memphis was the top rebounding team in the NBA during the regular season. So for them to get out-rebounded by one of the worst rebounded teams in the NBA during the regular season due to Golden State's height deficiency was just simply amazing. Kevon Looney, who has made a name for himself during these NBA playoffs, gave you 22 rebounds, 11 offensive, 11 defensive. You talking about wanting it more than everybody else. That's what he did. I mean, the starting five for the Golden State Warriors rebounded the ball very well. Steph gave you 7 rebounds. Clay gave you 8. Again, Looney 22. Draymond Green 15 rebounds along with 8 assists. And Andrew Wiggins, another person who has not only made a name for himself during this regular season as he was a first-time All-Star, but has definitely made a name for himself during these NBA playoffs because they were able to defeat the Memphis Grizzlies due to some stellar defense played by Andrew Wiggins. I'm telling you guys, man, and you should see the defense he's playing right now in the series that the Golden State Warriors are in, which I'm going to get into in a second. Memphis, on the other hand, as I mentioned to some friends of mine, also to my boys over there on the ASAP Sports Network, excuse me, this was the whooping that they needed. These type of games that Memphis lost will be the games that propel you into the future. It'll be the games that you need to gain that experience of knowing what not to do in the series. And it wasn't that Memphis did anything wrong. They didn't have Ja there to help them close. But it was a couple missed assignments, a couple of things that normal championship teams would have been paying attention to that detail that Memphis missed. And like I said, this is they got taken to the woodshed, but those one of them whoopings that's gonna help you in the future. You know, back in the day when your mama whoop your ass, and it helped you to remember not to do those bad things that you wanted to do. This was the whooping that Memphis got. But speaking about Phoenix, oh my God, Phoenix went against the Dallas Mavericks. Everybody had Phoenix to win this series except me. I got people that can vouch for it on the ASAP Sports Network. I was one of the only people, and I say one of, Freddie, I know you, I don't want you to say anything else. I know you voted for him too. But one of the only people that when asked, who do you think is going to win the matchup between Phoenix and the Dallas Mavericks? I said the Dallas Mavericks. I just felt that Luka was going to be too much for that Phoenix team, and I saw a lot of deficiencies pop up during that New Orleans series. You have to remember, New Orleans didn't have Zion, who's one of the top field goal percentage leaders in the NBA. Brandon Ingram made a name for himself during that series. And I'm like, if B.I. was able to do some of the things that he was able to do, I can only imagine what Luka will be able to do, with Luka being one of the top 10 players in the NBA and honestly has probably catapulted himself to the top 5 best players in the NBA playing in today's NBA. I'm telling you guys, man, Luka had a great series against that Phoenix Suns team. And remember, granted, Phoenix, you know, they won the regular season. You know, they were the best team in the league with a record of 64-18. I believe they were the only 60 game winning team in the NBA. So, you know, you look at Luka. Luka averaged 32.6 points during this series, 9.9 rebounds a game and 7 assists. You're talking about your 4 doing it all for this team. And you know, I think Chris Paul ran out of gas. As much as I love the point guard, as I call him, and I'm still going to give him respect of calling him the point guard, he ran out of gas. You can tell. This being, I believe, his 17th season. It's either 16th or 17th season in the NBA. It's starting to catch up with him now. You know, had a great first couple of games during this series, and then after that, he was scoring in the single digits, sometimes not taking shots at all. One game in the series even only scoring 11 points. One game, I think he only scored 5 points. I mean, it was horrible. And Devin Booker, as much as I love Devin Booker, what I saw during this series was one of the reasons that I was at first saying that to me he wasn't a superstar. Now he was an all-star. Now I've since apologized for that because Devin Booker has shown me superstar intangibles. However, to me he's not the greatest one-on-one scorer. And with him being an all-star reserve or making it to the NBA, all second team and things like that, I think that fits him more. To me, Devin Booker has to learn how to score the ball more easily. I think he takes a lot of difficult fadeaways. He takes a lot of difficult shots, and he's not the greatest person at creating separation to get good shots off. And I feel like without Chris Paul, without that motor behind his motor, the Phoenix Suns just look somewhat lost. DeAndre Ayton, another person who I was just highly disappointed in. I thought DeAndre Ayton would have been licking his chops going against the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, we look at their big men. They have Luka, they have Dwight Powell, and they have Boban, and they have Maxi Kleber. None of those guys could stick DeAndre Ayton. And I thought DeAndre Ayton was going to come out with the eye of the tiger, pounce right on the Dallas Mavericks, show them why they were just simply no match for him. And instead, he didn't do any of that. DeAndre Ayton I don't even think he averaged double-digit rebounds in this game. I mean, I thought the guy would have came out and averaged, I at least said, give me 25 and 13. Average that through the series, and Phoenix wins this series hands down. But it was just too many mismatches on the floor. And honestly, there was nobody that can do anything with Luka. Mikal Bridges was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. A lot of people felt he should have won instead of Marcus Smart. Shout out to Marcus Smart for winning Defensive Player of the Year. Shout out to Tyler Hero for winning Sixth Man of the Year. But and shout out to Scotty Barnes for Rookie of the Year. Everybody thought some people thought that Mikal Bridges was supposed to win Defensive Player of the Year. And let me tell you something. There was nothing that this Defensive Player of the Year candidate could do with Luka Doncic. Doncic had his way with Phoenix. Baby and Mikal Bridges, baby and Cam Thomas, baby and DeAndre Ayton, baby and JaVale McGee. Anybody who was on Luka, he made them pay for it. And Luka had a hell of a series. I like Dallas, and I'm glad I chose them. They were able to beat Phoenix in 7 games. As I told people, I said Dallas in 7. Now, I was a little afraid when Dallas lost Game 5. I said, they lose Game 5, even if they win Game 6. I don't want them to have to play that in Game I didn't want them to have to play Game 7 in Phoenix. Now, Dallas was able to come out and win Game 6 back at home in Dallas, 113-86. But I was afraid of them going back to Phoenix in the way that they came out and they punched Phoenix in the mouth. I mean, the game was never really close throughout the entirety of that Game 7. I mean, if we look back at the breakdown, Dallas won the first quarter, 27-17. Then won the second quarter, 30 points to 10. Then won the third quarter, 35-23. It wasn't until the fourth quarter where Phoenix made it somewhat respectable, but even then they only won the quarter by 9 points, 40-31. I mean, Dallas simply dominated throughout this game, winning the first 3 quarters and barely losing the fourth. That's just a recipe for success. Dallas knew what they wanted to do, and they came out and punched them in the mouth. So now the stage is set for the Golden State Warriors versus the Dallas Mavericks. The Warriors are up right now 3-1. They were up 3-0. I mean, they came out. It was just mismatches all over the floor. Andrew Wiggins has been playing an excellent job of defense. He's been doing an excellent job of playing great defense on Luka Doncic. I mean, in those first 3 games, Doncic was flustered. Even though he wasn't stopping Luka was still getting his points. But those were very, very tough points. And I think the way that they were taking him out of the game was taking everybody else out of the game, because some games only Jalen Brunson or Dinwiddie or both of them showed up. but nobody else did. I mean, hell, we look at Game 3, Reggie Bullock was 0 for 10. I mean, the man couldn't buy a bucket. Now, in this series, I mean, now they made it somewhat a respectable series. They came out, punched Golden State in the mouth in Game 4. Dallas said they wasn't going to get swept. And now I do believe they're going to go back to San Fran in Game 5, which will be on Thursday, tomorrow when this episode is aired. And I just think Golden State wanted to take it back home. Said we'll beat Dallas back at home. My predictions for all of these series, I have Boston beating Miami in 6 games. I have Golden State. Of course, I call for the sweep. They didn't sweep Dallas, but I think they're going to beat Dallas in 5. We're going to see Golden State versus the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals, and I'm going to have to go with my Warriors. I chose them before the season started. I just feel like this is the year that Steph finally gets his final MVP. I know I'm supposed to call it right down the middle, but please don't forget, I'm a sports fan first. Being a fan of the game is what got me into this podcast and got me into wanting to be a sports analyst. So I'm hoping, the fan in me is hoping my favorite player, which is Steph Curry, finally gets the recognition he deserves, gets that Finals MVP. People can finally crown him as one of the greatest, if not the greatest point guard to ever play the game. And he's already earned the title of greatest shooter ever. Point blank, period. Greatest shooter ever. So I'm ready. I'm ready to celebrate with my boy. As you guys see, some people calling me a turncoat because they're like, "Oh, I thought you were a Bulls fan." Hey. I'm always gonna be a Bulls fan, a Bears fan. I don't even watch baseball, and I'm gonna be a Cubs and a Sox fan. Don't play hockey, never play hockey. Will be a Blackhawks fan. I want to be a fan of any team that comes out of hell, even the Chicago Fire. Any team that plays in Chicago, I'm a fan of. But I also have my favorite players around my league. If you know me in football, you know I'm always riding with the GOAT, Tom Brady, because TBs equal TDs. And I'm riding with Steph Curry because he just makes it look Steph-less. So, with that being said, I think the Golden State Warriors will be crowned your NBA champions. And as we move on to keep it basketball, the NBA, all NBA teams have been announced, y'all. If we look at who they put in as the first NBA first all NBA first team, we have Devin Booker, Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Nikola Jokic. I have no problem with that all NBA first team. However, if you really wanted my opinion, I would have replaced Jason Tatum and Devin Booker with Ja Morant and Steph Curry. I just think that those guys individually have better years. Maybe you keep Jason Tatum on there because, as I mentioned, he led the charge for this Boston Celtics team to get all the way to the second place in the Eastern Conference. And trust me, guys, they were not looking good. I mean, it was tough if you were a Celtics fan. Ask my boy Pride, but he stuck with his team. And next thing I know, Boston's starting to look like that championship team that we all knew that they were capable of looking. So maybe you keep him on there. But as I mentioned, to me, Devin Booker is not the smoothest scorer. I think Ja Morant I think Ja Morant had a better season than Devin Booker. So I probably would have moved Devin Booker to the NBA All-Second team and put Ja Morant in NBA First team. In the NBA All-Second team, we have Steph Curry, Ja Morant, Kevin Durant, DeMar DeRozan, a.k.a. DeMar DeChosen, and Joel Embiid. And I felt sorry for Joel because Joel had such a great season. It was kind of hard to say, even though Jokic, won his second MVP. Shout out to Jokic for that. The Joker won his second MVP title. Back-to-back MVPs. Not too many players have done that. But I still would have tried to find a way to put Joel Embiid and maybe we move Jason Tatum and Devin Booker. We make Joel Embiid a forward and keep Ja Morant as your guard, and then you can put them down low, Devin Booker and Tatum, that is, to the NBA All NBA second team. But these are the final numbers, and then we look at the NBA All Third team. We got Chris Paul, Trae Young, Pascal Siakam, LeBron James, usual suspect. This was his 18th nomination, by the way, to be on an NBA All Team, and Karl Anthony Towns. So I honestly didn't think Siakam had a great year like that. He's been pretty quiet to me. I'm surprised nobody from the Miami Heat was able to make these All NBA teams. I personally think you could have skipped out on Siakam and put Jimmy Butler there, especially considering the fact he led the charge for the Miami Heat to be number one in the Eastern Conference. So, do I agree with this All NBA team? I do not. But this is what the experts have said. So, just delivering the news. Don't kill the messenger, ladies and gentlemen. As we get close to ending the show, I told you guys we were going to talk about Nick Saban for a little bit. Coach Nick Saban, as we know, coached the Alabama Crimson Tide. And if you guys don't know, they've passed an NIL law in college football. NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. And pretty much what it allows now, it allows for these college players to get paid off, their names, their likeness, their images, whether it's on video games, whether it's commercials, whether it's brochures, I'm assuming. They want a piece of the pie that these college universities have been getting for years. Now, before this deal has passed, a lot of college students, even though it was against the law, was getting paid under the table. I'm pretty sure Alabama has paid a lot of people under the table, considering the fact that they always have 4 or 5-star recruits. I mean, we look at the Alabama team a couple years ago where you were able to let go of Jalen Hurts because you still had Tua Tagovailoa and Mac Jones somewhere in the rafters. I mean, Alabama always has a great team, not to mention these young up-and-coming players know if I play at Alabama 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get scouts to put their eyes on me. So even if I'm not the top person in my position, I'm still likely to get some attention due to the fact that I play for Alabama. Now, Jimbo Fisher of Texas A&M, Nick Saban, pretty much was telling him, he felt that, people like Jim, people like Coach Deion Sanders were pretty much using the NIL deal to get these recruits to come to their colleges. Nick Saban is pretty much saying that they're giving out obscene amounts of money to these college students to get them to come play for other universities other than Alabama. Now, I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen. We know that Coach Deion Sanders coaches in HBCU in Jackson State University. And he kind of made me laugh, in which he tweeted, where did I get $1 million from to pay? That's more than my salary. Where did I get this money from to pay for these recruits to come to this school? It really stemmed from Coach Deion Sanders being able to get a quarterback. I forgot the name of the young man, but it was a quarterback that everybody wanted. And he's actually going to sign with Jackson State University. So I believe that was one of the things that triggered Coach Saban to come out and make these remarks. Let's just tell you like this. Coach Jimbo Fisher wasn't having it. And he said, I didn't start the feud, but I'll finish it. And you need to keep our name out of your mouth, because y'all boys been paying these recruits all this money for years under the table. So before I get to showing receipts, I'm gonna need y'all to watch your mouth. And I respect what Coach Jimbo is saying. He's saying, listen here, Paying students under the table is a college tradition. Now that they can get paid on top of the table, who are you to monitor what budget this university sets out for these kids to have a little money in their pocket? It is what it is. Coach Saban is just mad because he's not getting all the top recruits anymore. Alabama's had that time, and you're still going to get top recruits. But don't nobody want to come to Alabama if they don't have to, especially people of my color. So, you've been getting recruits from California. It's not like you just been getting down south people. So for you to be pocket watching all these other people out here, Coach Saban, you need to worry about continuing trying to find a way to get these recruits to Alabama. And that's just Rob's 2 cents on the matter. Be quiet. Who are you to call the pot? Who are you, the pot that's calling the kettle black? They throw stones, you throw stones. Some of them got the game from you, Coach Saban, if you really want to be real. So Rob's 2 cents on the matter is shut your mouth. Let these kids get paid and stop pocket watching other universities. Because and according to Coach Saban, that's exactly what this is for. His statements was to make Alabama have to up their money on what they're paying these students so he can continue to get talent to come to the Roll Tide, to the Crimson Tide, and for Nick Saban to keep his name relevant amongst the top coaches in NCAA history. So, we'll see if it worked for him. But sometimes you got to watch who you bite at, boy, because they might bite you back. And last but not least, I want to give a shout out to Jermell Charlo, who fought Brian Castano this past about a weekend or two ago, actually a weekend ago. And he was able to win the WBO light middleweight title. He was already the WBA super, WBC, IBF, and ring lightweight middle champion. Now he's won the WBO light middleweight title, and now he's the undisputed light middleweight champion of the world at 154 pounds. Everybody remember that fight on July 17th of last year in which Castano went against Jermell Charlo. They had a great fight. The fight came down to it went the distance and ended up being a draw due to some bad. I think people were complaining about a bad scorecard for one of the judges. They scored it like 117 or 111, and people thought that was just absurd. Again, it ended up being a draw. But people were just like, that fight was closer than that. Actually, half of the populace thought that Castano actually won that first fight. So people were anxious for this rematch. They finally gave us the rematch. Jermell Charlo being able to get a knockout in the 10th round. I mean, the guy hit the man hard. And they both were punching. I mean, if you want, I think it's being nominated or should be nominated for Fight of the Year as far as boxing goes. I mean, this was a back and forth affair. Neither guy came to hold punches. They were both hitting each other with great shots. So it just looked like at some points the game plan was out the window. It came down to who's going to hit the hardest. And Charlo ended up hitting the hardest in the 10th round. First catching him off guard with a punch, putting the man down, and then viciously attacking as soon as he got up with a vicious body shot, was able to get him to finally cuff over. Referee stopped the fight, and Jermell Charlo, now your undisputed light middleweight champion of the world, man. We know about those Charlo twins. They've been running the boxing game for a minute on that middleweight division. So definitely can't wait to see their future title reigns and how far they can take the professional sport of boxing. And not to mention in September, we will see in the anticipated 4th match, Triple G versus Canelo. I think it's either their 3rd or their 4th match. But anytime you get to see Gennady Golovkin make a comeback, I'm talking about a guy that used to knock the soul out of people, against Canelo, who's one of my favorite boxers today, one of the highest pound-for-pound champions in the world of boxing today. We're going to see these two guys wrap it up yet again in September, and I can't wait for this fight. And that's my show, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys staying with your boy. You already know where you can catch me. You can catch me right here on YouTube. Make sure you hit that notification bell to get notified every time Rob decide to start a show. And also make sure you guys hit that like and say a comment. Say what's up to your boy down low. Also, man, you can catch me on iTunes, Spotify, and of course the Rewind Sports 60 Roku channel. Also, the Rewind Sports 60 is available for Apple and Android TV, baby. So, if you got those sophisticated TVs, all you need is the app. Download the Rewind Sports 60, and you can catch all the great shows like Rob's 2 Cents on that network. Also, catch me on ASAP in the morning, Mondays through Fridays from 9 to 11. Also, catch me on ASAP Afternoon Blitz. And shout out to all the guys I've done podcasts with on their shows, man. I've been on Unscripted with Jay McLovin and Frankie the Yankee and Landers, man, and also on GSR Gonzo Sport Room with my boy Chris Gonzo. I've been with my boy Pride on Prideful Takes, man, and shout out to my boy Mike Hughes, who's the official media person for ASAP Network for the Chicago Sky as they try to go defend their titles over there in the WNBA, just getting an awesome win against the Indiana Fever. So shout out to all my peoples out here making moves, man. I appreciate you guys for stopping by to see your boy. I thought about doing it live. Ran into some technical difficulties, but the show must go on. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, man. I got nothing but love for you guys. Again, our thoughts and prayers are with the families that have been affected from these tragic events out there in Buffalo, out there in Texas, and out everywhere. Guys, let's learn to live with peace and love. You know what I always tell you to do? Make sure you set your goals right where you see them. You need to get an achievable goal. Don't jump out the gym. Chip away at what the master plan is. Once you figure out what that goal is, come up with a plan on how you're going to execute, then go out there and execute. That's what we do, baby. We execute. Holla at y'all later, man. I hope you have a great evening. I hope you have a great day. I hope you continue to be great. And you already know the slogan, baby. We gone. There's a bigger fight going on. There's a much bigger agenda than the streets. And I know sometimes it's hard to see that far in front of us. But we have to look past the illusions, look past the delusions of grandeur, and look at the bigger picture. We need to become better versions of ourselves each and every day. Fight for what you believe in. Because if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. We just getting started, baby. You guys know the slogan now. Hope you all have a great evening. And we gone.